Welcome to episode 29 of the Wiley Wire. Today we're going to break down this SPLC fraud firm case. They've been indicted on, I think, over 10 counts. The allegations are absolutely insane. We'll go over all of those. Tulsi Gabbard is pledging to indict a lot of the people involved in the Russia hoax scandal that went on for over 2 years. That started in 2016, the minute Donald Trump took the presidency for the first time. In music news, we're going to cover Oasis. Are they coming back for a world tour in 2027? In sports, the NFL draft, the number one pick. And finally, our WTF segment. Would you go have a crafted cocktail at a serial killer speakeasy? Welcome to the Wiley Wire. I want to talk about the Iran conflict. Not much of an update other than that the ceasefire is still going on and peace talks are still happening. Deal talks, I should say, are still happening. But I've listened to a bunch of different sources and basically real knowledgeable people on this that are completely against it, for it, and kind of people in the middle. And you're going to be kind of shocked when I say this. I really do think Trump is somewhere in the middle. I think Tulsi Gabbard's somewhere in the middle. I think Trump's a little bit more to the right on this than Tulsi Gabbard, but that's just my opinion, my view. I think there were a lot of people that are great people that are in his ear saying that this is a bad idea. You knocked out their nuclear weapons. I think that's good enough. But I think also that you got to look at the other side, the side of people that are completely against going into this and doing this. So one of the people I listen to is Patrick Henningsen. He's a journalist that is pretty well known, and he was on foot in Iran when this happened. And he said there's more people there in Iran that are for their regime than you think. Whether that's true or not, that's another perspective. He's saying that there were a lot of antagonists that were there that weren't from Iran, burning mosques down and causing riots, causing all different chaos. This is from his take on it. And it's not exactly what you see. And he makes a lot of good points. He doesn't talk too much about all the people that were assassinated and protesters and all that. He just says that number is way too high and it didn't happen. And he also said that we don't have an embassy in Iran, obviously. The embassy we have is in New York, so there's no really way for them to get those numbers. Again, very interesting guy to listen to. I recommend you listen to him, get another take on it. I can't say that he's wrong or right. Obviously, I'm not there. I just take all the information I can from people, pro going to Iran or against going in Iran and make my own determinations. But again, when you're not inside, I call it the gauntlet, you really don't know what to truly believe. So one thing I do know is there are a lot of Iranian people that have been oppressed for a long, long time. I know Iran back in the early 70s was a pretty thriving nation. And you can go over the reasons of why it didn't thrive after the Ayatollah took over. But people are chanting death to America in the streets. That's true. That's not a talking point. It's really true. Now, going to those people's shoes, why were they saying that? Again, they're getting fed propaganda just like we're getting fed propaganda. And you just got to try to think out of the box and really think, is this good for America? For America first, is this good for America? Now, here's why I think it could be good for America. Patrick Henningsen was, laid out a lot of good facts about the past wars, how they use the same propaganda in Iraq, weapons of mass destruction and all that. Saddam Hussein killed all these people. Again, is that true or is that false? I don't know. We never will know. You're always going to get your perspective from two sides. And when you're not there to actually witness it, you don't know, especially the amount. But also, I'm going to talk about, again, how this could be good for America. The only way this can be completely good for America is, number one, the deal that we get with them is abided by, is good for Iran to do and say what they want to say in their own country, but their actions against other countries, as far as terrorism, in that type of, getting a nuclear weapon again, I think it's crucial. And as you know, with presidents coming and going, we can't have another president if this is a deal that is just amazing for America, amazing for Western countries, amazing for Iran too. I don't know if they're going to look at it as amazing, but if it's a deal for Iran that people can flourish, the country can flourish, limits them from being aggressive, I think then that's a win for America. I don't know how much it's going to be a win for the Iranian people. Maybe it will. I don't know the numbers that are pro-regime, anti-regime. There's 90 million people there. There were a lot of people in the streets that were pro-regime. So it's not as easy as it looks. But ultimately, America first is what I'm for. America first meaning down the road, this can help us financially. This can help us dealing with other countries. It also can be a good thing for the Iranian people. They have a little more freedom if that's what they want. But again, I don't want them to not have freedom of choice. So if some type of election happens in Iran and they choose to have a government that comes in that is honest and for the people, and a voting system happens, a nonviolent voting system, and the country can decide what it wants to be. I just don't think them having a nuclear weapon is great. I don't think anybody having a nuclear weapon is great, to be completely honest with you. I wish we can denuclearize, because that's what this is all about at this point. You have certain countries that have nuclear weapons, and you have other countries that are trying to get them, and you want to prevent other countries from getting them. Like, that's what this is all about. It always has been about. And at this point, it looks like Iran does not have any nuclear weapons, period. I think their military is completely decimated. These aren't talking points. I mean, you're not seeing the aggression by them. Even before the ceasefires, they didn't have the capabilities. But again, you got to let this play out. The more it plays out, the longer it plays out. As long as nobody is dying, as long as troops are on the ground, American soldiers aren't dying, Iranians aren't dying, who wants death, and some type of deal can happen, that's obviously the best scenario. But let's talk also about the benefits of this for all countries, especially ours. If Iran can work with the United States in a deal and work with other countries in a more peaceful way, maybe that'll be a good thing 20 years from now. Maybe they'll see the benefits of that. But we shall see. And again, like I said in past episodes, I never thought this would go 4 days. I thought it would be at least a month. I never said it would be a month. I said at least a month. And obviously we're into almost 2 months of this. And we'll see. Maybe it'll end before May. But time will tell. But we'll be back with our next segment. I thought this was funny. I wanted to talk about it quickly, especially after the last segment on Iran. This girl, Caitlin Bennett, went on the street and started basically interviewing people. She read public statements from Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama. Didn't tell the people on the street that the quotes were from those people. She said they were all from Donald Trump, and she got the reaction on them, on the comments. And some people were laughing about it, and there was 2 women that were pretty upset. But the thing about it is that's why you don't get in bed with these politicians. You get so fired up about a Trump tweet or a Trump Truth Social post or just nonsense. And I feel like the people that are acting the most insane about this are, I hate to say it again, boomer adults. They seem to get the most pissed about it. I'm sure there's younger people that get pissed too, but it's just funny to watch. Roll the clip of Caitlin Bennett duping the general public on quotes made by Donald Trump, what were made by left-wing politicians, including Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, Barack Obama, and Hillary Clinton.
Dangerous force in the Middle East. Do you agree with him on that at least?
No.
We would be able to totally obliterate them. That's a terrible thing to say, but those people who run Iran need to understand that. And what do you think he meant by saying those people?
White supremacy.
His subhuman people of color.
He's becoming very delusional and honestly showing a little bit of signs of dementia.
This is something someone with dementia would say.
Absolutely.
Had Kamala actually won the election, do you think we would even be in this?
Absolutely not.
And they were not falling for this Iran stuff either.
No.
If Hillary Clinton had just won in the first place, maybe we wouldn't be in this mess.
Yeah, I would go with that.
If he had a kind soul, I think anyone can be beautiful, but he is not beautiful. Yeah. He's not beautiful inside or out. He's a horrible person.
Did you vote for Hillary Clinton?
Yes.
Did you guys vote for Hillary Clinton?
Yeah.
We would not be in this position if she were president today.
Or Kamala.
The man truly is insane.
Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris said all of that, not Donald Trump.
Really?
Yes.
That makes me very sad.
Are you serious or not?
Yes, they are.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. That's a gotcha. Good for you.
You've never heard them say this stuff?
No, I haven't.
That was a quote from 2008, right here.
To it. I don't, you know what, who can believe what we read?
Did you go to the cops about me?
Yeah, I just wanted to see if you needed a permit.
I didn't mean to make you cry.
Crying, but
Okay.
it's shameful.
What's shameful about it? There's nothing.
One woman said, "Don't believe everything you read." I just thought it just summed everything up right there. You got people that are totally psyoped on the right, totally psyoped on the left. You're basically living in a fake world either way. If you stay towards the middle and evaluate everything you read both sides, if you want to call it a side, whatever, believe both versions of the propaganda, find out if the propaganda is real or fake, that's the best thing you can do. That's the best outlook you can possibly have. It's always the people that hold their finger up, that are just living in a reality that's their own, unchecked reality. And when they hear something that's not in their reality, they get mad or they get violent. And one guy got a police officer over. He was so mad that he wanted to get her arrested. I don't know what, for reading quotes that weren't Donald Trump's and saying that they were Donald Trump's to get you to say bad things about Donald Trump. It was just a joke. But again, people, they get very upset about this stuff. And half of it's bullshit they're getting upset about. But this is a good lead into my next segment. Some indictments are going down for fraudulent groups that are raising money for protests, for, division and all that. We'll be back with our next segment.
The Southern Poverty Law Center themselves advertise to raise money to dismantle violent extremist groups for a period of at least a decade. They use their donor network to raise money to purportedly dismantle violent extremist groups. However, the SPLC, the Southern Poverty Law Center, used the money they raised from their donor network to actually pay the leadership of these very groups. I just want to say that again. They used the fraudulently raised money by lying to their donor network, thousands of Americans, to go ahead and actually pay the leadership of these supposed violent extremist groups. The groups, as the general laid out, include the Ku Klux Klan, the United Klans of America, Unite to Right, National Alliance, the National Socialist Movement, the Aryan Nation Motorcycle Club, and the National Socialist Party of America, and also the American Front. In at least one of these matters, our investigation revealed that funds were used to facilitate the commission of further state and federal offenses, totaling over $3 million. Furthermore, our investigation revealed that the Southern Poverty Law Center, on top of perpetuating this widespread, decade-long, multi-million-dollar fraud, conducted more criminal activity. They attempted to hide their criminal activity from our financial banking network. They set up shell companies and entities around America so that the financial institutions that we rely on as everyday Americans were deceived in believing that money was not coming from the Southern Poverty Law Center in the perpetration of this scheme and fraud, but rather fictitious entities they stood up to perpetuate this ongoing fraud. This is a serious and egregious violation of a group that purported to dismantle violent extremist groups, but in turn actually only fueled the hatred. This is an important case brought by President Trump's administration. We're thankful to the president for his leadership and funding of not just the FBI and DOJ, but his commitment to go out there and wipe out fraud and conspiracy and waste and abuse wherever it occurs, including the Southern Poverty Law Center. Even though this money was made to appear to be coming from legitimate people and legitimate entities, we at the FBI, with our great partners at the Department of Justice and in the state of Alabama, were able to comb through a decade worth of material, a scheme that took a decade to build, so that we were able to follow the money, because money never lies.
On that clip from Kash Patel, love him or hate him, it's not really debatable. This group's been around a while. A lot of people have known about them. I know Elon Musk put a post out, said finally or something like that, or told you so, I can't remember. But basically he was reposting his tweet from 2024 talking about this group. But what a scam. I mean, you got people going to protests. You got people going crazy with each other. And this organization was fueling the whole thing. I wouldn't say the whole thing, part of the thing in a large way. And there's other groups like this out there. So I tell you guys, don't go to these protests. Don't do any of this shit, because most of it isn't grassroots. It's getting people to act like the people in the video I played earlier with the Caitlin Bennett video. That's how they're getting you to act. That's the whole point. And they got all these people giving all this money to, poverty and anti-hate groups and all this stuff. And it's all bullshit. Not only that, they're funding the hate groups, the KKK, the Aryan Nation motorcycle group. He named them all in the clip. socialism groups, anti-socialist groups, all these things that are dividing us as people in the country, fake organized things done by this group. Wouldn't say all, but a part of them. You think this is the only one out there doing it? You think this is the only one that you were giving money to? Act Blue, look them up. I knew about that since 2020. You go to any of those, during the George Floyd thing happened, and you go to any of the politicians, fundraisers, all that stuff. Act Blue is really far on the bottom in the corner. Couldn't really see it, but that's what it was going to. And then Act Blue was going ahead and doing what they did. So I'm not saying that Act Blue is the same as this group, but it's a faction. It's something similar. I'm not saying they went to hate groups. It was usually a cause that went to the Democratic Party. This is not even a Democratic or Republican thing. This is just mostly a division thing to divide people. So you have an anti-hate group supposedly taking money in from the general public for support for the KKK. You can't even think of something like this. And the fact that they even pulled it off for a decade is beyond me. But again, kudos to Kash Patel for the indictments. Now, am I a pro Kash Patel guy? Don't know the guy. I thought more indictments would happen, but this is a good start. I like that this is happening. They should get all the groups out there. I don't care. If they're fake groups and they're fake money laundering campaigns, they should be dealt with. Bottom line. You can't say you're this and then do that. And I guess one of their old CEOs got, resigned or whatever, got fired for sexual harassment. You look that up. They were refueling the money into the propaganda to divide everybody and cause fake events to happen. Fake events. Driving division. So I hope they get to the bottom. I know they said they know where the money is and all that, follow the money. But let's see if they get to the bottom of it. And let's see if they find out more on these type of organizations. Because when you walk out in the general public, no matter where you are, at least I can speak for myself. I can't speak for you. I get along with everybody. I don't ask somebody what their politics are. I get along with everybody. And they don't want that. So whoever's behind this group, I think, is a little more sinister than we know. But it's a shame. But I also want to talk about Tulsi Gabbard and her getting behind this indictments and investigations on the Russia hoax scandal. And whether you like Donald Trump or you don't, it's regardless, it doesn't matter. Because even if there was a Democrat president in, you can't have this go on in our country. You can't. I don't want it to go on to the next Democrat president. I don't want it to go on for the next Republican president. And this is just a joke. So let me break it down how it all went down. According to Tulsi Gabbard's version, which I'll play, the Obama administration orchestrated this early on of Trump's presidency into his presidency. It lingered on for 2 years. All these different witch hunts. They were going to put his son, Donald Trump Jr., in jail. Anybody that was associated with Donald Trump is arrested for Russia collusion. Some people's livelihoods are completely tarnished economically, mentally, over a hoax that didn't exist. And it's borderline treason. It is treason. You can't be a president of the United States or an FBI director or a CIA director working against the president or working against the country. That's treason. So, again, I hope they clean all this up. I hope that things get better and the American people can have faith in the CIA, have faith in the FBI. And I know there's a lot of great FBI agents. I know one or two that are great people. And I don't know any CIA agents, but I'm sure there's some great ones out there that really just want to help the country and not do things that are sinister, that'll affect us. But we got to try to weed all the people out that are working against our country. And quickly on Tulsi Gabbard, when she ran for president, back when she was a Democrat, she had some things to say that were a little left-leaning for me, but I liked her overall as a person. I thought her general policies were actually pretty good. And then once the Democratic Party saw her getting some traction, they did the same thing to her as they did to RFK. They harassed him. Hillary Clinton called Tulsi Gabbard a Russian spy. Basically, she had to fight for her livelihood, her reputation, and I think she sued Hillary Clinton. I don't know exactly what happened with that, but it was just to get her out. They wanted her out. They didn't want, Hillary Clinton didn't want her in her realm. She was worried about debating her. She saw the promise in her at such a young age. And this is a while ago. I mean, this is like 2014, 15. She used to run as a independent Democrat, independent. She was always, in the mix and a threat. But I'm going to say this today, 2026. Tulsi Gabbard is going to be somebody you're going to see for another 15 to 20 years. At least 15. Whether she runs for president on the Republican side, it's the only way you can win. If she runs on the card of somebody else like Marco Rubio or J.D. Vance as the vice president, she will be president one day. I think she's capable right now. I think it's up to her if she decides. I think there's a lot of good candidates that could come after Trump. Marco Rubio could be a solid one with a Tulsi Gabbard VP. But I don't think J.D. Vance is going to not run. Maybe he'll take a break. Who knows? But there's three good choices for the Republican side. And I hate how they have to debate each other and tear each other up. That's just politics. But hopefully it ends with all of them being mainly Marco Rubio and Tulsi Gabbard. But look for Tulsi Gabbard as a real contender in the near future. Roll the clip of her talking about the Russia hoax.
The key findings from the House Intelligence Report, which investigated the claims that were made by an intelligence community assessment ordered by President Obama and published in January of 2017. First, Putin's principal interests relating to the 2016 election were to undermine faith in the U.S. democratic process, not show any preference of a certain candidate. In fact, this report shows Putin held back from leaking compromising material on Hillary Clinton prior to the election, instead planning to release it after the election to weaken what Moscow viewed as an inevitable Clinton presidency. In the January 2017 intelligence community assessment that President Obama ordered, John Brennan, who was CIA director at the time, and the intelligence community intentionally suppressed intelligence that showed Putin was saving the most damaging material that he had in his possession about Hillary Clinton until after her potential and likely victory. The report goes into great detail about the information that Russia and Putin had on Hillary Clinton, which included possible criminal acts like secret meetings with multiple named U.S. religious organizations in which State Department officials offered, in exchange for supporting Secretary Clinton's campaign for the presidency, significant increases in financing from the State Department. They also had documents that showed the patronage of the State Department to State Department employees who would go and support Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign. There were high-level DNC emails that detailed evidence of Hillary's, quote, psycho-emotional problems, uncontrolled fits of anger, aggression, and cheerfulness, and that then Secretary Clinton was allegedly on a daily regimen of heavy tranquilizers. Then CIA Director Brennan and the intelligence community mischaracterized intelligence and relied on dubious substandard sources to create a contrived false narrative that Putin developed a quote-unquote clear preference for Trump. Brennan and the IC misled lawmakers by referencing the debunked Steele dossier to assess quote-unquote Russia's plans and intentions, falsely suggesting that this dossier had intelligence value when he knew that it was discredited. The intelligence community excluded significant intelligence and ignored or selectively quoted reliable intelligence that contradicted the intelligence community assessment's key findings on Putin's alleged support for Trump. Including this intelligence reporting would have exposed the ICA's claim as implausible, if not ridiculous. The intelligence community assessment omitted reliably sourced information, such as how some Russian intelligence officials were quote-unquote planning for candidate Hillary Clinton's victory, while others assessed neither Trump nor Clinton would respect Russia's interests. As was reflected in the ODNI documents that we released on Friday, multiple intelligence community assessments released in the months leading up to the November 2016 election concluded that Russia had neither the intent nor capability to impact the outcome of the U.S. election. On December 5th of 2016, the FBI and ODNI gave the House Intelligence Committee its first post-election classified briefing, in which there was no mention of Putin aspiring to elect Trump by either agency.
Listen to that Tulsi Gabbard press conference. Just kind of reliving 2015, 2016, and all the negative attention Trump got. And he was actually given a lot of positive attention by CNN early on because they didn't think he had a chance. They thought it was a joke. They thought he was going to write a book or something like that. And a lot of people just kind of gave him the publicity that kind of pushed him a little bit further into the race. And then they found out this is real. And then they found out he was a contender. And then they pulled back. And that's when the media hit job happened, where 95% of the, I would say 99% of the media was negative. Thinking back to that and remembering it, I said he was going to win early on in 15. Everybody thought I was nuts. I'm not saying I'm one of those people that can predict the future, but I just saw something in it. I saw what people wanted, and I saw that people were quietly voting for him. I was more publicly saying I'm going to vote for him, and people were quietly. I knew there was a quiet majority that was going to vote Trump, but I didn't expect the negative attention to happen. I didn't expect the whole country to act how they acted. You know, when Obama was elected, I was hopeful that he would do a good job. I mean, you always got to be hopeful. You don't have to be happy, but you got to try to support the president and hold him accountable for the things that you wanted him to do. And obviously, he's going to do things you didn't want him to do because that's why you didn't vote for him or her. I just remember that time, and I was ready to see what he's going to do. And then the Russia hoax thing happened. I was like, man, did he really win by the, because of Russia and all that? And I'm just like, all the money and tax dollars we spent on that, bringing people in, arresting people, all the money that people had to pay lawyers to fight off charges that weren't even real. The whole thing wasn't real from the start. It was just to make his presidency tougher on him make them focus on things that were not for the country, more personal, and the impeachment and all that. It was all setups and hoaxes and all that. And we paid for all that. That's what's crazy about it. The whole thing was fake, from the FISA sign off to the evidence of him in Russia. It was all nonsense. And they used that knowing it was fake. And that's borderline treason. So I hope whoever was behind it is held accountable one way or the other, meaning their name's smeared forever because they were a part of it, or charges get brought to them. But I know that looking at some of this evidence, the last administration before Trump, the Obama administration, was completely behind the whole thing. And this clearly wasn't the case. They knew it was false. They knew that the Steele dossier wasn't real and it was illegally signed off. But it was a big deal. But I just want to clean everything up. We can get back to being a real country with a real CIA, a real FBI. I hope that can be possible, but let's see what the future holds. It's definitely people that are getting on Kash Patel. I don't know the guy. This stuff ain't happening overnight. Clean up the CIA and the entire FBI overnight. That's a tough task. But we can start with indictments for people that almost committed treason against the country.
The Wily Wire segment where Brandon asks, "What the fuck is this?"
In Las Vegas, they're opening a speakeasy for serial killers. And it's going to highlight like Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, John Wayne Gacy. I mean, you name it. I don't know how this is going to make any money. I know there's some weirdos out there that'll probably go, but the cocktails are going to be themed after Jeffrey Dahmer or Gacy or Bundy and all that shit. I don't understand it. It's like a form of like mental sickness or something. I don't even get it. So, little background on me. John Wayne Gacy grew up 3 blocks from my house. So when I was a kid, we would, on Halloween, we'd go in the front lawn of that house. And the house was actually ripped down, and it was just an open lot. Don't quote me on this, but at least 15 years, 20 years, that was an open lot. Just weeds growing. No one wanted to live there. No one wanted to be on that lot. So there was like 2 houses next to it, Gacy's house in the middle, weeds. So on Halloween, one of us would go in the weeds, like dare you to do it. I didn't do it, but you'd like dare a buddy to go do it. It was like nuts. We'd ride our bikes over there and it's actually hit me a little harder because growing up in the neighborhood where he lived, him coaching baseball at the park that I played baseball at, my brother sat on his lap at the grocery store. He dressed as the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus and all that. He coached baseball. He had a construction company. He would lure the kids in and he'd kill them, rape them, and bury them under his house. I mean, not to be, too graphic about it, but that's what he did. And he was the biggest mass murderer ever. And you got Jeffrey Dahmer and you got Ted Bundy, all psychopaths. And to make a speakeasy with naming drinks after these people, I don't think that's a good thing to do. I think you kind of lose your complete moral compass doing something like that. People going to go in there and buy a Jeffrey Dahmer drink or a John Wayne Gacy drink. And it just think of all the victims that these people killed. Imagine if, like, some of these victims can come back to life and watch people go into a speakeasy, drinking drinks of the person that murdered them. Maybe if they thought about that, they would open the place. But everything's about making $1 now. I think it's a terrible idea, a horrible idea. At first I laughed at it, and then I was like, is this real? I couldn't believe it. And then I looked and it's real. But at the same time, if you look at it from a moral standpoint, it's so wrong to do. I mean, it's somebody that murders somebody. Why would you want to open a business celebrating that and having people sit and drink drinks? Absolutely unbelievable. That's my WTF. That is a huge WTF. I don't think it gets any bigger than that. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to do another WTF that's going to match this one, because this one is a total, what the fuck. We'll be back.
With the first pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Las Vegas Raiders select Fernando Mendoza, quarterback, Indiana.
And the celebration is on in the Mendoza household and party. The first Indiana player drafted #1 in the common draft era. Cleveland Rams drafted Indiana running back Corby Davis first overall in the 1938 draft. So a Hoosier is going first overall in this draft. Mendoza joining a franchise with a piece of ownership owned by the only other quarterback to have a 16-0 record in a single season.
Fernando Mendoza, #1 to the Raiders. He's in great hands of Tom Brady. Obviously, he had a lot of insight on that pick. No doubt about it, being a part owner of the team. Going to Las Vegas. Talked about it last episode. Probably the most up-and-coming sports city in the country. Got the A's going there. Vegas Knights. Soccer team coming there. NBA team going there. They have the Raiders already. So it's going to be fun to watch that kid develop. I think he's going to be a great talent for the league. You know, we can't get down on him his first 6 games or his first season. You got to let him develop. If he's not a fast developer, look at Caleb Williams, what he did with the Bears his second season, #1 pick. So I think it's a good pick for the Raiders. We'll see what happens with that team. They obviously had a real tough season last year, but he's in a great sports city, and it's going to be pretty fun to watch. We'll be back with our music news and then our wrap. We're back with the wrap, and I wanted to end with a little music news. As you saw in that clip, Liam Gallagher was visiting Rome, Italy, to a bunch of fans waiting for autographs, and he said, "I'll see you guys in Rome in 2027, hinting at an Oasis world tour in 2027. That's going to be a dynamic. I wonder if they'll have some new music. I know they said that their days of making new music is over or on hold right now, but I think they should do a whole album of like the Lost Times, all Liam Gallagher's music and all Noah Gallagher's music, sung by Liam Gallagher, obviously, and put it together as a new Oasis album. I don't know how the music rights would work on that, but I think it'd be cool. But thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Episode 29 of The Wiley Wire. We'll see you next week, Tuesday, with a new episode. Follow us, like us, share us at The Wiley Wire. You can always use a like. Can always use a share. Thanks for staying wired. We'll see you next time.
The Wiley Wire dives into sports, music, politics, health, and trending topics for entertainment, info, and education. Listener discretion advised. May include mature themes, explicit language, controversial views, or sensitive content. Not suitable for under 18 or all audiences. Parents, please supervise. All opinions from hosts, guests, and contributors are personal and don't reflect our official views. Information isn't guaranteed to be accurate. Do your own research and consult qualified professionals.